Hey everyone, and happy Friday. I'm Joe Holmes, and I'm joined by the one and only Hunter Blair Ambrose. Super exciting because her album Scorpio Season is out. Finally, it's out. Hunter, how many years in the making is this album?
For just about. I can't. Just hearing you say that's so crazy.
4 years out of your life is a long time. And I know we first did an interview 2 years ago now, which is mind blowing to think about all of the things we've been through in those 2 years. But when I look at you, I see so much growth as an artist. And have you felt that growth making this album and now finally putting it out there?
I I was talking about this, on stage last night that making this record kind of forced me to grow up a bit because I looked into parts of myself that, forced me to, I don't know, come to terms with decisions I had made and things that happened in my life that were quite painful and processing all of that and um just going through the motions of emotionally coming to terms with the last 4 years of my life by making this record. Yeah, I mean, I feel tremendous growth as a person, as a musician, certainly. I can't even tell you all of the things I've learned just about making music and making a record by doing this project. I certainly owe a lot of what I've learned and a lot of my growth to the team that I made this record with. Um, Taught me so much about so many facets of this industry. And also, I think that by putting this record out, it finally ends the chapter of my life that this project reflects on so heavily. And in that, there's a lot of power in just that. And by this thing finally being out in the world, I think that that serves as the final bookend to this part of my life.
And we're going to listen to the album Scorpio Season. But before we press play, what is one thing about the album we should know? What's the album about?
So the album, I think people get, just by hearing the album title, people could assume that this record, touches on different tropes of astrology and things like that. But what the album is really about is that it's about me coming to terms with who I am as a human being and my shortcomings and my weaknesses and the mistakes that I made in my early 20s. It is a breakup record, but it's not written about a person that I was involved with. It's written about me and my emotional journey through the absolute wreckage of this relationship that went off the rails and really went on to affect me a lot over the last 4 or 5 years. And yeah, so that's really what this record was always about. Was about me and my journey to who I am today. And it wasn't an easy process, but I am tremendously proud to be here at this moment. And I am tremendously proud for you all to hear this. My first album, what can I say? It's a very exciting moment.
The first album. You don't get to do this again, ever.
No, mm-mm.
Get one album. That's the first album. Let's start off with the first track, Baby Goodbye. Baby Goodbye, we've spoken about the song before. It's the opening track of the album. And I don't know if I'm hearing things, but near the end of the song, over the chorus, there's some really high, like, vocals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tell me about that because every time they're such an earworm to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really, I mean, that still is one of my favorite songs off the record for sure. And I'm so happy that we chose it as the first song. I chose it as the first song off the record. Like that's how it opens because I was like, what an introduction. Um, the like the screaming kind of like whistly tone vocals, that was actually added by my producer, one of my producers. When I heard the first version of the final mix back, he added that in there. I had no idea he was going to do that. Those were just like some throwaway like ad libs that we'd record in the studio. I mean, I have the demo. I listen to the demo all the time. That was never in there in my original concept of the song. I never really like went into the studio intending for that to be in there, but he just went through all the stems and threw it in there. And then I remember hearing it back when he sent it to me to review, and I was like, "Ooh, that was a really nice touch." It like added some kind of like scary, like kind of macabre element to the song, and there's a lot of those moments sprinkled into the record. So yeah, I thought it was a really nice touch. Adds a lot.
Yeah, and you said Scorpio Season's a breakup record, but it's not about
Hmm.
the other person, it's about you. And
Yeah.
Baby Goodbye opens that really well because you're not saying, oh, I miss this person so much. You're literally saying, baby goodbye. Like you're saying goodbye. There's attachment there. I mean, you think about what that means, but you're saying goodbye, you're moving forward. Is
Hmm.
that how you feel about the song?
Yeah, I mean, I just got to this moment in the whole situation after me and this person had my ex and I'd stopped talking, and I was so upset and so angry about the fact that he had just walked out of my life for a final time. But then I like all that anger kind of translated into like, you know what? Like, fuck you too. I'm gonna be fine. Like, I don't need you. I'm tired of being miserable. I'm tired of waking up missing you. Like, I need to at some point come to terms with the fact you are no longer in my life. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, you know? And I think that November kind of shares that sentiment. Like, yeah, I do think about you, and yes, this situation does affect me, but it doesn't necessarily have to like break my heart anymore.
Yeah.
So it is an empowering song. I at the core. I hope that when people listen to it, they're like, yeah, you know what? Baby, goodbye. See you later, whoever. Like, that's what the song was really supposed to be about.
I
No.
can tell you for a fact that I've listened to the song and thought that. And you said it was empowering. You read my mind. I was going to say that it's not a diss track. It's empowering,
No.
and we all need to cut people out sometimes, and that's healthy. But it's also knowing that feelings change, and you can be totally okay with saying baby goodbye to that person now, and it's affirming that.
Hmm.
So the next
Yeah.
track is Right Now, and the first song you put out, the single. Wow, wow. And this version on the album, it's had more added to it. It's a newer version, and we
Hmm.
love that because it's got stronger, it's got clearer. And let's dive in. When you hear that sound at the beginning, what does it do to you?
That was the first sound of this record produced that I ever heard. When Jason, who is my executive producer of this record, Jason Strong, he produced this demo of the piano version of Right Now that I had written, and he sent me back a really like a scratch demo. And the first thing I heard was that, and that was that. It gives me chills because that was really the first chapter of this whole thing was that sound. And as soon as I heard that sound, I was like, yeah, I'm in good hands. This record is in good hands. We're gonna be fine.
For sure. So addictive. So
Hmm.
addictive.
To pull you closer the way I want to. Touch your glasses to know. Hey, I don't know. It's no more or less. I was like getting a little emotional and I was dancing. I was like, sad twerking meme. That's what I think of when I hear that song. Because that was really like the first part of all of this for me.
I was gonna say for you is that crying in the club, but you just summed it up. Sad twerking took it to another level.
Said twerking in the club. I don't go to nightclubs, honestly. I don't know if that's like particularly shocking, but I really don't go like out clubbing very much. But like if I did and I heard that song, yeah, I'd be like, oh my God, so emotional, but it's such a bop.
That's the thing though. I find that with clubbing, it seems really awkward to be there, but if they played the music you wanted them to play,
Yes.
you can just go, you know?
Yeah. And with if you're with the right people.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And right now, I can't even remember I mean, I remember how I felt the first time I listened to that song, but it's a
Hmm.
while ago and you're feeling those emotions now. Which emotion really stands out for you?
Uh, it's just, I can't tell you how much my life has changed since I was 21 years old, sitting in my college apartment, um, trying not to wake my roommate up, writing the song. Like, and I never would have imagined that, it was 2017. Um, Fast forward, here we are, 2021. I'm sitting here talking to you. I've performed all over the country. I've sung that song a million times for tons of people. I don't know. I'm just grateful to be here, I guess. I really that song gave me I don't know, it was the beginning of all of this. There's a sense of like I'm so happy that this is out, but it's a mourning almost too. I'm letting all of this go for everyone. It belongs to everyone else now.
That's crazy. And when I said that, I said what emotion stands out to you. I just see you go through all of the emotion, like
I'm like,
all of,
oh,
all of them. There's no
I
hiding
don't
that.
know.
And with right now, it's about wanting somebody in that moment. And you feel and you're talking about sad twerking, but I suppose alone right now isn't sad, but as part of the narrative, it adds another layer, doesn't it?
Sure. Sure. All of these songs will probably have a new meaning once you hear it in the context of the entire album.
And talking of wanting somebody right now, let's take that a bit further. Let's go skin deep. Now this song, what's it about?
Well, it shares a similar theme to a lot of the first part of the record, which is kind of like a lust over love confliction. And I still deal with this type of thing now where it's kind of like you'll meet somebody and it'll be like, wow, like I really want to get to know you in a
I love
sense.
the way you've got this all figured out. I know, and I mean, imagine me asking you gone through what to say for like marketing and interviews, and you're like lust over love, and I'm like, wow, she's rehearsed this. She knows what she's gonna say, other than, you know,
Well, I've known what the whole narrative of the album was going to be ever since I figured out the sequencing of the record to reflect the storyline and to reflect accurately how the actual story unfolded. I wanted to put the songs in order to match that. So, I mean, right now and Skin Deep are kind of thematically similar in the sense of like you'll meet somebody and you're really attracted to them and you want to like get to know them a little bit further, but then like your demons and fears and anxiety, at least for me, because this is what a lot of this record's about, will start to kick in and you're like, oh my God, but like what if I actually like have a connection with them and then they don't feel the same way and then I'm like left feeling like really like rejected and like what was this all for, and I'm wasting my time and I'm scared, what if I'm not good enough, like, yeah. And it's my only collab on the record, besides like some background vocals, um, from a couple of my producers and stuff. But Ye Ali is a really accomplished R&B producer and songwriter and artist in his own right, and he's produced stuff with Jack Harlow and Chris Brown, and he's written stuff for both of them. And I was introduced to him by my former manager, and I got to meet him, and he just knocked it out in one session with that feature. And I thought that he added a lot of character and a new perspective to the song. Um, yeah, bangers, 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 bangers in this like first part of the record for sure.
Yeah, and it's amazing with you and with Scorpio, Susan. This is the only collab on the record, but it's great to
Hmm.
work with someone who knows a song and can add an extra layer to that. Because when you have this story, this narrative that you're constructing, when other people add their layers, which I think people will do when they listen to this album, it's like you've got a narrative behind that. But then when I listen to the album, I link that to things I've been through, and I feel like listeners would do that. And when you see people relating to the narrative in different ways, how does that make you feel?
It's really cool. Like, I mean, I'm really the only one who knew what happened and what the real full story of this record is. I'm obviously never going to share all of the details of what happened. I think people can, put the pieces together and come to their own conclusions. And it's really cool watching people interpret music in different ways and relate it to their own life situations and experiences, and then hopefully that helps them. And I know that the music that I love the most has done that for me. And if I can give people that same feeling through this record, then I've done my job. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. That's the gift of music. That is the gift of music. And talking about music, that's a gift. We're listening to our first track that I've never heard before. We're into the album now. Here's Division. I'm so afraid. I know all the players. I know the game. Like division, get me back in this position. Tell me why I can't explain. Got it bad for you, some kind of way into you, but it scares me, so I keep watching buried. Can't tell you I'm frozen. Can't tell you I'm broken. I can pretend tonight, even if it don't feel right. I can pretend tonight. Can we just one more night? Just one more night. Wow. Wow. Hunter. Oh my God. Wow. I I mean, I saw you crying. I wasn't sure how to react because those vocals and how beautiful that song was.
Thank
It's
you.
a ballad, but it's also not. I mean, it's just constructed so well, and it and
Thank
it
you.
really makes you feel. And after we had Baby Goodbye, we've had Right Now, we've had Skin Deep, and those songs make me feel all sorts of things. But this
Hmm.
this really is a point in the album where the emotions hit,
Hmm.
and I
You know
mean,
what it is? It's
yeah,
not to interrupt you, but it's sort of like that moment where you go home after the party by yourself and you're kind of like, damn, I'm like just chilling by myself right now. I really wish I wasn't.
it's that
um,
crash. It's that crash you feel after you know it's feeling low from being high. It's just how it's yeah. So tell me, what does division mean to you, and how does it fit into this narrative?
well, like I said, I think I got to a point in the relationship where I was so caught up in the superficial aspects of it, which is was fine. Like obviously like attraction and initial feelings are like key to any like new relationship, whatever. But I was starting to feel like I was swallowed up in my own emotions and fear around the situation because I loved this person so much so quickly, and I was so afraid to express that for all the reasons I mentioned earlier, like rejection, not feeling the same way, not being ready, all that stuff. And I just felt so strongly about this person, but felt so unable to express it. And I was just so, I don't think upset's even the right word. I was so confused on what to do. And some fun facts about the song because there's a lot to unpack in that song with the production. I mean, Jason and I are singing together on those backing vocals. Like we're singing together on that part. And also at the very end, there's this train announcement. That's what that is. There's this like low in the mix, you know, it's like, that automatic like train voice that
Yeah.
tells you
So
well
how?
when the next train is coming. And
Yeah.
the reason I did that is because my ex told me one of the last conversations that we had was that he was leaving work one day and he thought he saw me and he texted me and he said, I thought I saw you the other day on this train platform. And I was like, damn it, it's not her. And he told me where it was. And so when I started making the record, I went back to that train station and I recorded the train announcements at that very spot that he thought he saw me at the very end, and put that into the song.
That is being an artist. That's going to a train platform and recording the train
Yeah,
announcement to that
on
platform.
my phone.
I mean, luckily these days we're always on our phones, so no one could have thought, why is she recording the train? But it's a lovely touch because it adds that extra layer of what this personally means to you. And you were in tears and I mean, my jaw just dropped. I mean, those vocals, how the song's produced. I mean, I wish there was more words.
Yeah, the song's called Anxious and it samples a 90s R&B song called So Anxious by a artist called Genuine.
Wake me up, I'm all alone. Sound on my phone. Hope that you're at home, 'cause I'm anxious. Keep me on hold, out in the cold. From what I'm told, wanna shine so very close. 'Cause at night I need you most, so I just go to sleep. Here's a sign that you're mine for the night, and you know, babe. Stars align, songs are right, give me time, babe. In the states, on your face, give me place, babe. Don't keep me on hold no more. Here's a sign that you're mine for the night, and you know, babe. Stars align, songs are right, give me time, babe. In the space on your face, give me place, babe. Don't leave me on hold no more.
Another beautiful song. I just don't know. I mean, it's mind-blowing. The growth I've heard in you, and all, these songs just keep hitting, and the melodies and the vocals are blowing me away.
But that song is like a hypnosis almost. It's cool. It definitely sets up more of the cerebral, I'm in my own head.
Yeah. And with Anxious, it hypnotizes you in the same way anxiety does, where you're not thinking straight. And that melody, the chorus comes in and it really captures you, and all of the sounds underneath that, they make you spiral in the same way anxiety does. And I love the way, you're talking about feeling like you've been put on hold and you're waiting, and that anxiety is catching up on you. I mean, we've spoken about anxiety before, but putting that into a song, what was that process like?
Well, for artistic purposes, I definitely thought it was integral to the story because that's really what like sent the whole relationship off the rails. I've definitely been held back by my mental health issues a lot in my life, and it's ruined a lot of friendships and relationships over, the course of it. Really, like, anxiety really struck me probably when I graduated high school when I was about 18. And mitigating it has been a challenge. I've done a lot of different things to try to cope with it. I'm really lucky that I've gotten to the place in my life just by working so hard in the industry that I have been able to teach myself how to manage a large amount of stress at one time and keep my head on straight. But I can't lie to you and say that it's not been a learning curve because it's really challenging. It's a challenging disorder to deal with. Because you can just wake up one day and be like, nope, I can't do anything. Why can't I do anything? Because I don't feel like it, because if something goes wrong, I won't be able to handle it. So I'm just going to do nothing. And that's how it affects me, at least.
Yeah,
So.
I feel you. I feel you. Anxiety, it really captures you in that way and makes you feel like you can't do anything sometimes. And that's really difficult to deal with. And how do you cope with that? Is music something that sets you free when you're feeling like that? And is there any other coping strategies that you use to help yourself when you're feeling anxious?
When I immerse myself in music in any way, shape, or form, whether it's just listening to an album that takes me to a different place, it's like I become the person that I wish I could be all the time. And I lose myself in this idea of who I want to be, especially on stage. Um, because the Hunter that's not in front of people is very, very, very different, than the person that is. A lot of artists say stuff like that, but it's true.
And I feel that, I mean, the persona we have in public is different, and it's stronger to the one we really face. And when
Hmm.
people make assumptions about you and message you and talk to you about you, but they're actually talking about that public image rather than how you're
Yeah.
actually feeling, do you
Yeah.
feel like you're not seen? And how do you navigate that? Because that's something I struggle with. I want to get your perspective on it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of uh, challenges, personal challenges while making this project. Some people knew about and some people didn't. And, you'll every once in a while get, some messages from people that don't know you being like, hey, hope you're doing okay. Like, stay strong, all that stuff. And it's very nice. And I would never, complain about someone taking time out of their day to message me at all. But, there is a sense of like, you all have no idea who I actually am. Um, and I don't know. It's like I'm afraid of sharing too much, but also, you want people to be able to relate to you, but then it's like, does anyone actually care? You know?
Yeah, and it's isolating when it's like that because there's such a disconnect. And as an artist, we want to connect, but we also need to
Hmm.
be careful how much we share in order to connect because we need to protect ourselves, others that have been in our lives that are still in our lives, and we also need to protect the audience. So as you say, it's difficult to manage that.
Yep, it is.
But you never knew we'll get out of you let me alone. Ain't the right plan, ain't the right time. Baby, think twice. This season is mine. Tell me how you move. You know what's been on mine. This time I'll get control. Call me when you're alone. It's a in my head. It's so hard to breathe.
When you're performing these songs live, don't you get distracted by how like the song and just how captivating that is? Don't you just want to like go and do like your little dance and just enjoy the music?
Yeah.
How do you stay focused?
I do that sometimes, like in the instrumental breaks. I'll just like bop out and like dance and like just look at, and when I'm on stage with like my performers, if they take like the instrumental breaks as an opportunity to do like a solo or something, I'll just like go up next to them and just be like, let's just vibe for a second. I
Yeah.
love performing and I love sharing those moments with the people that I'm on stage with. So yeah, I mean, the production on this record is such a huge piece of what makes it so captivating. And that song's such a vibe, just a vibe. I still think it's underrated. I stand by that. I think it's an underrated song of mine. I
Yeah,
love it.
well, let's wait. In a couple of years' time, people will be demanding a music video for it and everything. So you got all
I'm
that to look forward
sure.
to. But yeah, with the production, you're right. It truly is stand out on this album. It's so fresh, but at the same time, you can see where the inspiration is drawn from. As you say, you've got samples, you've got nods to different genres of music and
Hmm.
eras of music, and that's really clear. But altogether with the quality of the production, this has been recently, it's been done by professionals and it sounds so good. To all the producers and people that worked on the sonics of this album, really
I
good. I
agree.
mean,
I agree.
you can't fault it, and it really does a lot because This is an interesting thing to say. You don't get to say it many often, but I don't know. I haven't heard an album that sounds like this, but I mean, this, and that's a good thing because this album sounds so good.
Thank you.
And when you have that style, even artists at the top of their game, I mean, they don't know who they are as an artist, and maybe that's because they don't have people around them that push them in the way that you're pushed by the people that around you. And you draw your talent together and create this sound, you create this world. In terms of pushing you to perform at your best, what's the moment in making this album where someone working with you's really done that?
There were two things. So actually, and one of these stories has to do with this song in particular. So, and this was one of the earliest songs I wrote for the project. This was written and recorded. These vocals were from 2019. We never changed the version of it. This is the same version on the EP. And there's only 2 songs from 2019 that remained untouched, this in November. And when I originally had written the song, it was a little bit different. It had the same working title, but it wasn't working. And that was one of the few moments where I started to really like doubt myself as a writer for a second, because I took it to my producer and he was like, and we were messing around with it and like trying different things with it. And he was like, I don't think it's working. And I was like, yeah, I don't think it's working either. And he was like, go home, work on it. Let's just try it tomorrow. And so I did. And I really, and at a last minute's notice, I really had to like put my pen back to paper and just be like, okay, how can I save this song? How can I save this song? The melody's not working with the chords. It's not hitting, like something's not right. And in a couple hours, I changed it to what you just heard.
Right. And you needed this song on the album because the concept behind it and you didn't want to abandon that. So having that doubt as a writer, where was the balance between completely scrapping it and writing a completely new concept and then knowing, right, this is concept I want, I need to go back?
It was just a matter of really like honing in on melodic choices and figuring out what flattered my voice the best, and also just fine tuning the concept of the song and like the lyrical content, because I was like, okay, what is the song about? What do you want the message of the song to be? This is setting up the whole overarching theme and vibe of the record. This is the title track. This is like, whenever people see that, they're going to associate this song with the overarching theme of the record. And really what the song became about was like me saying to this, love interest of mine, like, I'm not necessarily, I might not be the version of the girl that you think that I am in reality.
Hunter, it's time to listen to Not Enough.
You're on my mind. When you came in, I think you better let it walk down. If I can see me through your eyes all night, got me fantasizing if you were all mine. Ooh, baby, how dare you get me feeling like I need you for more, for more, for more, for more. I believe you when it's done. You wasn't just another fuck. I just want some more of your time. I'm tired of being caught up over you. Find myself under you. I can't even lie, couldn't if I tried. A problem I can't hide from you. How am I falling for you? Part-time lover, ain't had 2 in 2 weeks. That's not enough. No, that's not enough. You make me wanna give it up all for you. Can't stop these thoughts for you. First I end up calling you, and then you end up falling through. And you know that I'm here for you, but when you leave I don't hear from you. No sex 2 weeks, that's not enough. No, that's not enough. And find another guy.
You really said that. I love this song. I feel like, although it's sonically getting darker, I feel like it's touching on that kind of place of pop that is really addictive at the moment, where we're getting more honest, we're getting more open, and we can put that in a song now, and it's cool. We're in that space now where there's nothing to hide.
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting about this part of the record, and when I mentioned to you that it's not just like a stylistic transition into some darker territory, it's also like, lyrically, it's a transition from me just being anxious and unsure of myself to like being really dissatisfied and like really kind of like starting to get a little upset that this is not going right.
With not enough, you go from being unsure, and then you know your own mind, and you're okay with communicating that. Whether it's, you put that together in a song, but to yourself, you know how you're feeling about that situation, you know how you're feeling about that person. And you're like,
Mhm.
what you're giving me is not enough, and I know that, and I think we know where this is gonna go.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like just whether whoever's fault it really was, which it was kind of mine. I just kind of realized like this is not going the way I wanted it to, and it sucks. Because it has so much potential, and like I'm really like into this person, but it's just not going well.
And I think that happens, and when it happens, we have different coping strategies, and too much. Well, it's about coping, but not coping in the right ways.
Right.
And when did that shift happen in your mind when you realize, okay, these coping strategies, they're not healthy? What am I
Uh,
going to do?
it took a couple years of really like drowning myself in, you know, smoking weed and drinking and whatever. Because that started kicking in around the time that I realized that things were not going well, like, and not enough. And then when I realized that, and also that relationship starting to fail coincided with me dropping out of college. And I was just not doing well, like up here, not very anxious all the time, didn't know what I was going to do with my life. All my friends were still in school, so I felt like I was left out. The relationship wasn't going the way I wanted it to. And, like that really, is reflected in the transition from the songs, not enough into too much, because that's what was going on at the time.
It's obsession, it's a problem, anxieties, yeah, I got 'em, it's emotion that I'm into. Start from the top, hit the glass bottle, how do I stop drinking? I gotta start from the top, with a cup bottle, how do I stop popping? I gotta, don't wanna overthink it, too much, don't wanna find no reason, too much time in my head, shit that I said, it's all the same.
I have to pause it now because otherwise I never will.
I
Wow.
know. It's
That,
an addicting song.
it is very addictive in the same way that it's about addiction.
She knew I'm in your head and I tried to control it. I couldn't manage, 'cause it's so bad that I take advantage. I took the but it never works. And every time I heard your name, it fucking hurt. And maybe it's a little bit just for a change. And maybe if you knew how I felt, you wouldn't stay. You look me deep in my eyes. I let you in for a third time. Does she know you say all the right things? Do you only hit me up while she's asleep? And you try to control it. You couldn't manage.
See, I haven't been driving for long, but when I get when I get back late and I'm driving in my car down like these country roads, these songs, you can just imagine me, full on going for it, and just like it's perfect. I mean, Alone Together, it's got those disco vibes to it, and
Hmm.
when you're driving in the dark, perfect song for that. You're not going to fall asleep when it's playing. And those influences, I mean, we've got the disco vibes, and we've got that very, Daft Punk essence to it. Tell me how
Yep.
that came about.
Well, I started to get emotional hearing that because I wrote that song like right after we went into lockdown, and that was the moment that I decided that I was, because the EP had just come out, and that was the moment I decided I am going to make this album the best I can make it. I am going to make this album so much of what this couldn't be because of the situation. And just watching you sing it, like that was written in my grandparents' bedroom, like in my head. I didn't even have a keyboard, I didn't have a piano. I just wrote the melody. It was in my brain. And the sonic influences. So they're in the studio. Well, actually, let me start in order of how that song came to be. So we had just entered lockdown. The Weeknd's album After Hours, which had Blinding Lights on it and In Your Eyes and Save Your Tears, amazing record, went on to strongly influence that song in particular. In the studio, when I was setting up the session with Jason, I played him as a reference track, in particular, In Your Eyes. And that was what we were listening to in the studio to really get, you know, some inspiration behind the production of the song. I knew it was going to be a really big synthy type of song and production. And I've always, The Weeknd is a tremendous influence on me. And one second. Hey guys, I'm recording an interview in here. I'm sorry. And so he's always been like a tremendous influence on me, and so has Daft Punk, like for years and years and years. And um, very, very much so. I mean, I remember when Random Access Memories, which is Daft Punk's last record together, came out in 2013. So a while ago, almost 10 years ago, I can't believe that. That was really a record that dove straight into their influences of 70s disco and synth pop and all kinds of things, Euro pop and all kinds of different, genres like that. And that was a record that really stuck with me. And I've always admired them. And I've always loved vocoder. And I've always loved, really like almost orchestral levels of synthesizer when it's done the right way in the right song. And so I just took like it was just a lightning in a bottle moment, like After Hours had just dropped, and I was like, I really want to do a song like, that captures that vibe, and also Blinding Lights. I mean, that's a song that we all can't seem to escape ever.
I'm falling backwards on my back, baby. Yeah, baby. No more. I'm sure I belong your line. Strong core, locked door. Feel us all night. Do I remind you of your new girl? Got the same letters. Kinda remind me of the last guy. You feel much better, much better. I gotta move on with my life, baby. Yeah, baby. I'm falling backwards on my back, baby. Yeah, baby.
What I love about this album so far with these album tracks is you're capturing so many feelings and thoughts that I think a lot of people are scared just to say so blatantly. But
Hmm.
it's important, that we are open.
Yeah, I agree. That song it might, teeters that line of being kind of lighthearted and kind of just like a little bop, but it's also like I think a consistent thing throughout the whole record is that, lyrically, I'm not afraid to say, what the situation is, and no matter what part of the relationship it is, like I'm gonna be honest about it. And yeah, I mean, I think that runs through all the tracks on the record, but that was also a collaboration between me and producers Travis and Ozzy, and we put that together. I think that was the last song I recorded for the album. And it also, kind of represents another sonic transition into uh, what is to come on the rest of the record. We'll slowly get there, but it does represent like another chapter this whole thing.
Yeah, and it really is a story that, you know, you're over here and then you're over here emotionally and within the narrative. And as you say, it's nice that the sonic transitions really complement that. Was that an obvious choice, or did it kind of just happen because of the mood of the music?
It was conscious, but it's not like we recorded all the songs in order. It's just I think, you know what? I think it was more subconscious now that I think about it, because I was really just, it was like word vomit, all of these songs. I just started writing everything I wanted to say. I was like, everything that I didn't get a chance to say to this person to their face, let me just get it all out. Let me just go from point A to point B all the way to the end and say what I need to say, and then we're done with it, you know? And then, you know, once I reflected on everything that was finished and all the tracks put together, I was like, I started piecing it together and piecing the story together. And it covered pretty much every corner of what happened.
And now this album's out there, do you feel like you've said your piece and that story is now contained and complete?
Um, I think it'll always affect me in one way or another. I don't think, you know, necessarily with the release of this record, I'm just gonna be like, yep, I'm done. Never gonna think about it again. It never happened. That's, you know, not necessarily what I wanted to happen, but I think I've made my peace with what I did. And the person that, like, who I am today and all that it took to get me here, I mean, that wouldn't have happened without all of that happening to me. And I'm more so grateful for the fact that I'm okay, that I went through all of this. Um, we haven't even gotten to like the nitty gritty part of the record that's coming, but I'm you know, I'm very grateful for the experience, because like it's a consolation, that I am who I am because of it now.
100%, and that's sometimes all we have. And let's dive into self-control, shall we?
Sure.
What really speaks to me about this song is when you kind of feel lonely, where you don't want to be alone, but then you do things that you probably shouldn't, or you spend time with people that are bad for you. And it's hard to control that. Do you think you've got a grasp on that now, or is that still something you find quite difficult?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever fully have a grasp on that. I mean, the moment of that whole thing that I was reflecting on in this song was like kind of, I don't know. I think there's like an element of denial in being as upset as I was, that's met with like this faux sense of like, oh, I don't care. I don't care that you're not around. I don't care that I'm at this bar and I want to text you, and that I know that you used to come here all the time and I'm wishing you were here, and I'm like looking around wondering if you're here right now. Like, no, I mean, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. And then it's at the reality of it is comes in the chorus where I'm just like, I can't fucking do this. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not coping with it. I feel horrible all the time. I have no self control because I can't stop thinking about this. I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop thinking about it at all. Um, yeah.
For sure. And when those feelings happen, you kind of feel sick with yourself. It's hard to sit with yourself and know that how you feel isn't right. But
Hmm.
you know, you don't want to feel like that, but you do. And they're two forces fighting against each other.
Hmm. Yeah, it was tough. It was a tough situation. I felt like it was just this sickness that I didn't want. You know,
Yeah.
it was like this unwanted visitor of like it weighing on me all the time. Not being able to get over it at that time.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just so distracted by the title of the next track. 2016.
my ex was 20, I met him on his 26th birthday. And in 2016, the year. And now I'm 26 years old. And yeah, there's a big element. There's that number comes up a lot. The album's coming out on the 26th of November.
It's almost like you planned the whole thing.
It's almost like I did.
I wouldn't put it past you, but you probably did. Let's play it.
Okay.
Piano just takes you away. You're sat there so excited that this is all out into the world. And when I'm listening to this, I'm just feeling the weight and the depth of this song. And you're like,
yeah,
groove. And because obviously you've had to process this already. And for me, you know, that was cutting deep, and listening to that and the way, I mean, no track on this album sounds the same. And so
right.
every time the song starts, I'm like, ooh, we're going to a different place now. And
Yeah.
I love that. And I think really, really creative lyrically. You know, I don't think I can be the person I was in 2016, or I don't know how you phrase it exactly, but something like that. I mean, people change, and it's such a reflection. I mean, talk to me about this song and the meaning behind it.
Well, just for a long time, because I felt like that time and that was we met at the end of that year. And so that was when everything was good. And that's when everything was starting out and it was new and nothing had gone wrong yet. And I would always wish I could go back to this moment before the destruction of everything happened and everything was fun and he and I were still together. And I think I was almost like, I lived my life vicariously in that time to
Yeah.
like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like it was almost like a coping mechanism for me to like heavily reflect on wishing I was back there. And like I remember I would like only listen to music from that time. And a lot of the music from that time that was the backdrop to that relationship inspired this record. So a lot of what you're hearing are influences from music that was really popular at that time and what I was listening to at that time, because that was really the soundtrack of the relationship. And it was almost like a schizophrenic type of behavior. I would just really like only lock myself into that time because I missed it so bad. And I wished I could go back so bad and redo things, but also just like bask in the glory of how it felt in the beginning, and especially at the contrast of how horrible I felt when it ended.
I was just waiting on you. When are you gonna come through? Starting to think I'm gonna lose you. You were just waiting on me. What do you think this could be? Forever or 2 weeks. I spent the summer alone, feel like a psycho paranoia, 'cause I live on
I think for me, this song really captures how love makes you crazy, and it's
Yeah.
yeah, it really does, and you feel like you feel the you feel the energy and the thrill of love, but you also acknowledge how crazy it can be, and yeah, is that how it feels to you?
Yes. This song is written about the summer of 2020, um, being in my house, reflecting on this person disappearing from my life and being alone and moving to a different, back to Boston to try to salvage something of my past. And it was just this concoction of misery, sitting alone in my house, like just forcing myself to think about it. Yeah, that's what the song's about.
I love the
We're getting we're getting into this is the grand finale. I mean, this is the climax of the whole thing. So
I don't know. I think the whole thing's just a climax, and when just when you crash and you realize, oh dear.
you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready for Gone.
Remember calling your name. Remember feeling the same. That was then. This is now. I never really knew how to tell you or show you. It's all bleeding out now. Remember November. I never really wanted to play you or hurt you. I know you're gone now. When you've given it all, and the night is too long. When you've given it up after all, when you just want to come, but you know that it's wrong. When you know deep down that he's gone now. Remember calling your name. Remember feeling the same. That was then. This is now. I never really knew how to tell you or show you. It's all bleeding out now. Remember November. I never really wanted to play you or hurt you. I know you're gone now. That was then. This is now. I never really knew how to tell you or show you. It's all bleeding out now. Remember November. I never really wanted to play you or hurt you. I know you're gone
Hunter, I have a song.
Really?
Yeah.
No, just wait. I don't think you do yet.
Oh, you, you,
Maybe. I
you don't
can't tell
let
you
me
what your
rest.
taste
You
is.
don't let me rest.
It's a good
Wow.
one.
And the reference to November in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely on purpose,
I mean,
especially
that,
with what the next song is.
yeah, the next song's November, which obviously makes a lot of sense. I feel like this is exactly how you want to feel when you process those emotions. I mean, that beat, that's exactly the the lift you need. And I thought November is much more, it's much more of a somber reflection. It's not sad, but you know, it's much more of an admitting of the feelings. This is kind of like, okay, now who's a bad bitch?
Yeah. I mean, it was also just me like really sitting with the truth of like this is done
Yeah. And the track
forever.
is dark.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm wasn't lying when I said this is the final act of the record.
Yeah, and when you said it's a climax, I was like, I don't know, the whole thing's a climax. And I'm like, I want to dance now. Again.
Don't belong to any city, don't belong to any man. Keeping it to myself, but you're on my mind again. I'm not the kind of man, babe, when you're under my skin. One night with you in my hand, can't wait for now again. Yeah, you've been hunting me, but this ain't
this song, this really got people to listen to you and to see you.
Yes.
And I know, you know, it might have been the Lady Gaga hype that got them to see you, but what got them to listen to you and got them to hear you, and what got me to hear you, is your songwriting talent, your artistic talent, and how you know how good this sounds, and how beautiful it is, and how you capture that emotion where, you know, you're haunted by love, but you know it's what it is. It's just such
It
a beautiful
is.
song, and you know it's always going to be a staple in your collection.
Of course. Of course. That song did everything for me, and co-wrote that with Jason Strong. And I think we both knew at the end of that session, when we had not probably like 80% of the song done, we both just looked at each other and were like, yeah, wow, what a song.
Don't wait, just hold the blame. Don't wanna say the games are late. I couldn't play, so wait. Don't walk away, but either way, just let me say. Thank you for your time. I heard him say this pain will be useful, maybe someday. Knew it was too late. Saw you on that day. I walked away 'cause it wasn't the same. Thank you for your time. I heard him say this pain will be useful, maybe someday. Knew it was too late. Saw you on that day. I walked away 'cause it wasn't the same. You feel me good and I can't deny it. You don't wanna hear me when I'm crying. Not just in friends, so stop the lying. Listen to the songs that I've been writing. Maybe it's clear, maybe now you get it. Still into me, I don't understand it. You cannot choose when you're undecided. So hit me up when you're invited.
Every time I hear that song back, it's hard not to get back into that place, of course. It's more so when I hear it back and I hear it finished that I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, and it is such an emotive song, and the vocal for it feels so intimate and vulnerable, and captures the feeling so well. I mean, like, it's definitely a song that I would cry to, and I mean, it's got so much in there,
Yeah,
and it
absolutely.
sums the album up. Let's listen
Got
to
one more.
I Get Lonely. Let's go.
I could get to know you. Take the time to show you. Don't tell anybody what we do. And I can only take me to another place where I'll be face to face. You and me with no rules, just like you. I can only just like you, I can only
Wow. I mean, that's Scorpio season. New album, first album, debut album. I mean, like, as far as debut albums come, gotta be one of the best, if not the best I've heard. I mean,
Stop.
no,
Oh
it's
my
true. I
God.
mean, like, where you go from like Goodbye for Now to I Get Lonely, and I feel like Goodbye for Now wraps everything up, and then I Get Lonely, but like, I mean, one story's over, but it never really is, and you know, you get lonely, and it really, you know, it hits you, and what an album and what an experience. You know, I've loved everything to you, and like seeing your emotions, and feeling mine as I listen to these songs that you've crafted and spent years working on, and all of the growth you've had is just phenomenal. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud to be your friend, and so proud to watch you grow and talk to you as all these songs have been out into the world. And I keep listening and I keep listening, and I'm surprised every time by how amazing they are. And I don't say that lightly. So thank you, thank you for sharing this experience. Scorpio Season is one hell of an album.
Thank you. I don't know. I mean, just hearing this now, like in the context of other people now having it, because I've been listening to this for a whole year. Um, it changes the whole meaning, and I went through hell and back, personally, professionally, any way you can think of. Like this was not easy. It was really hard in so many ways. I mean, I just woke up. I remember like wanting to quit, a couple times during this whole thing because it was just so hard to, have people like on the team who just weren't a good fit, or, dealing with personal issues. And, I overcame depression, anxiety, a pandemic, like pushing the album back a year, people, coming in and out of my team, the death of a family member, crushing weight of just all of what this record was about. And I did it. I'm
You did
sorry.
it. You did it. And I hear you, I see you, I've seen what you've been through, I've watched you as an artist. Well done. I mean, I can't wait just to listen to this album and listen to this album and listen to this album. And I hope everyone enjoys listening to Scorpio Season and allows you to reflect as much as I'm sure we both have and you're doing now. Hunter, thank you so much. Your new album, Scorpio Season, Hunter Blair Ambrose, out across all platforms. Give it a listen, buy it, stream it, support Hunter. Amazing project, Hunter. Thank you so much. And you are so
Thank
loved and
you.
appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you guys. I really hope you enjoy it. And whichever way you interpret this record, I'm so grateful for everybody who listens to it. It's been the joy of my life. It really has.